What's goody, everybody? It's full-time trip. We are back in the building, establishment, whatever you want to call it. Mansfield Town 1, Arsenal 2 at the One Call is all it takes stadium. I don't know why I was thinking that. I think it was Dua Lipa who sings that song at the time, but it is what it is. We're here. We have made it through to the last 8 of the FA Cup. I think the farthest we've been in like 5-6 years since we won it last time, but a very interesting game nonetheless, and we're here. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Welcome back in. Hope you're doing well. Take a deep breath to hope you were enjoying, the morning or early afternoon footy, depending on where you are in the world. I know I woke up at like 5 a.m., watched the movie, and then, I'm here just watching the damn game because my sleep schedule is just, it is what it is. But we're here, man. We made it through. And this game can be described as a day where few stood out, a few more fell below the through line of expectation. But the important thing was getting through to the next round. Overall, which I want to start with, the fact that we're still winning and competing on all 4 fronts in March is solid progress. It is exactly where we want to be. So huge credit to everybody in the squad, the managers, the coaching staff, everybody. I don't want any kind of criticisms or whatever from today to overshadow the fact that we are fighting on all 4 fronts still. We're still going. We're still pushing through. We're advancing. We're getting the job done in many different ways and in many different arenas to get to what we want to be. Get to what we want to receive, the trophies, the end goals. You know what I mean? So I don't want that to be underscored in the grand scheme of things as we're going through. Again, today wasn't the greatest of performances from a few people individually and somewhere in the collective, but I just want to preface with that first, and I'll end with that as well, just to make sure we on the same page. But from an overall team standpoint, and then we'll get a little bit more granular. Started off with a back 3. I guess it was like 3-4-3 or kind of like 3-5-2 in a sense. Like a little bit trying to be more free flowing. I believe it was Havertz and Norgaard in the pivot. Trossard and Dowman were kind of a bit forward. It's kind of more like a 3-4-2-1 at times. Depending on how players stepped out, but that wasn't working. That wasn't working at all. I ain't gonna lie. We had to switch that. We had to get rid of that ASAP, and I think the injury to Trossard helped accelerate that movement as well. We looked a lot more stable after that. And the game kept on ticking. What I will say before I continue to critique us, I want to take a moment and say hats off to Mansfield Town. Hats off to them. They gave us a good game. They pressed. They didn't sit back all the time. They defended very well. Physically, they were up for the fight. And on the ball, they were very, very good. They were solid, man. I was really loving so many combinations. Again, they knocked it long at times when there were spaces too. Again, we're playing a high line, so they tested us in that way, which was, again, smart thing to do. And even in moments where they had the ball, they kept the ball, put their foot on it a little bit, and they played in these little pods of 2 and 3. Found the spare man on near the touchline a lot of times in their kind of possession rhythm, and they got to advance that way. Some really, really good, just solid, confident patterns of play from them. Like I was enjoying watching them, as much as I was looking at some of our performances individually, specifically in a little bit of disgust. But Mansfield Town, that was wonderful. I think they're in kind of a relegation fight in League One. I'm hoping that they stay up, man, because they look like a really solid side. Credit to them and best of luck with the rest of their season. Simple as that. Back to us though. Again, a little bit more stable in the back 4, and what at least I was looking for in this game, not from a tactical standpoint, because out the gate, we're making 9 changes, we're making formation changes. A lot of this stuff is going to be new connections or connections that aren't fully successfully formed yet in real competitive play. There's a lot of new variables that aren't going to make performances or games like this as easy or as pleasing on the eye in my mind. But with the quality gap, I looked a lot to the individual levels and the individual applications of players to stay calm and to impose their will in different situations in the game. From a tactical standpoint, we made the adjustments to play more comfortably and to make things happen. I didn't have a problem with that. And then substitutions, if we did convert the chances that we did convert, we would have been in a much better position for that. So I don't necessarily blame Arteta for making the swaps and switches that he did at the time, obviously given injuries, given the flow of the match, how he wanted to close it out, what have you. My focus has been on the fringe players and the players who aren't in the starting 11 all the time, or the players who are getting back up to speed, or the new players who are coming into the fold. How are they faring? What statements are they making to say, this is where I belong in the squad? This is where I want to be in the squad? Some players exceeded the mark. Some players stood up to be counted and said, hey, I put in good work today. I put in a shift today. I was professional when other people might have not been so professional. And I deserve some more attention here. And they absolutely did that. And I'll get to those players in a second. There are also some players who are, I'll be very honest, the senior players, a lot of the senior players who were in the squad today, they didn't do what needed to be done. They were so far off it. They looked anonymous at times, bad touches, too much over dribbling and overthinking. I think the entire team, from an attacking standpoint, in terms of the last action, the final action in the box to shoot, their shooting boots were missing outside of 2 people, literally, and those were the 2 goal scorers. The application there has to be better across the board, and I'm including the sub that came on too. Saka's not exempt from this. He's had a poor season from a shooting perspective. We can be honest about that. He's had a fantastic season from general play. He's been, again, as influential as possibly he's been in past seasons. He's had really good overall play, but the shooting has not been there, along with most of the team from that perspective. So we can group them as a collective on that front. But again, back to the point. A lot of people didn't get above the through line to say, hey, I'm not in the starting 11, but here's why I should be. There's some players out there who did not show that. They didn't make that statement. They did not make that statement. And again, it's kind of a middle bucket where people are going to try and do things, but you got to give them grace because they're young, So I'll go through these buckets of players really quickly. First, I'll start the quickest one. The buckets of players who are still young, they're learning. Again, obviously, Christian Norgaard, Marley Salmon, Dixon really barely put a foot wrong, honestly. He had some good progressive passes, in my opinion, but he was kind of caught in no man's land because Mansfield were overloading a lot on one side of the pitch or the other, and he got caught up in that mix. But mainly for Salmon and Mascara, how they got the mix up for the goal we conceded. Again, in my opinion, I thought Mascara was at fault for that goal. In the sense of Marley Salmon does play a pass that's like it could be either or, but I thought Mascara was very close to it. He could have got to it, but he got caught in between 2 minds, and then that's where the player pounced. That's where, again, I forget who it was. It might have been Hewitt that scored that, or Aaron Lewis. I can't remember which one of the 2. But they capitalized, and he got twisted up for being in between 2 minds. He has to be more confident with those touches there. Hasn't had the best couple of games, but again, he's 21 years old. Marley Salmon is 17. Probably younger than that or some shit like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're young players. These are the games where you put them in and you give them the test to see, hey, you're going to make mistakes. Young players are going to make mistakes. These players are not going to be perfect. They're not going to be. And these are the moments to give him that grace. Max Dowman from an attacking perspective, but I'll get to him in a second because he's in a bucket all of his own, in my opinion, today. And from a shooting perspective, again, he's alongside the rest of the team where there wasn't enough conviction behind the shots making it through. But that'll come with time. That'll come with the application of learning in these competitive contexts to make that right decision, to be a bit more confident, to be a bit more assured in what you're doing. So as much as they, might have had a misstep there, I'm not putting it all on them because they're young players. They're going to learn, and these are the situations to put them in. So learning curve, we've been in the situation before. If you're going to scold them and say, oh man, we shouldn't play young players, they made a mistake, are you going to go overboard with that criticism? You might haven't been an Arsenal fan for long. I'll be very honest, because this was, again, young players have been in our MO. That's our DNA. That's what we've been doing from time. So shouts to them. They'll do their thing. Next, the players that I thought didn't meet thresholds. I don't want to spend too much time on it here, but we can be very, very honest. Gabriel Jesus, Leandro Trossard, Gabriel Martinelli. We could put Kai Havertz in there, but I'm giving Kai Havertz some grace because he hasn't been fit. So I think that's more of a fitness and application issue from that point. I didn't think he was great today, but I think it was more there. And I think those were the main players that really stood out to me. Just that arching left-hand side, Jesus, Trossard, Martinelli, just not on it. Final actions off, physical play off, passing execution into the final third and in the middle third off, overplaying the ball at times, just off. I did not enjoy any of those performances. And again, the conversation will come, how do we get to the next level in the seasons to advance after this one? I'm not focused on that right now, but a huge question on how do we become better lies in how do we become more ruthless and efficient and consistent in the final third and sinking final actions, making them stick, making them happen, being a bit more, having a bit more firepower and bite and consistency with that firepower. And that's where those types of players comes into question. And they just didn't show what was required to say, hey, there's still something here. You know what I'm saying? There's still something here for me on this day. There's still something here I can contribute. I'm hoping that they pick up for him. I'm hoping Leandro Trossard isn't injured. But there just wasn't a good statement on that, in my opinion, to be real. And then for me, there was players that were above the through line. You know, they can be a little bit frustrating at times or whatever, what have you. But not even with that caveat. Erase that. I think they met above that, again, the expectation. And they said, hey, like, listen, we can take games by the scruff of the neck. We can make things happen. We can be a net positive whenever we get dropped in. And I'll start with one of my standouts. Might not start necessarily in the league, but Kepa was solid today. Outside of, he probably could have did a little bit better for the goal we conceded, but I thought he was solid. Handled and commanded his box very well. Distribution was decent. Everything that was coming his way, he handled. So I thought that was pretty good performance overall from him. Christian Norgaard is another one. Everybody's been screaming out for so long. Give this guy more minutes. Smart with his touches. Very, very involved in physical play. He's going to get involved in dueling. He shows, again, why his expertise and his experience and his qualities may not be the most athletically gifted, but his physical capabilities and his IQ are enough to help us in very, very dangerous situations or different situations or higher stakes situations to continue to give Rice and Zubimendi some reprieve. I think he needs more minutes. Simple as that. Madueke, very close to being my man of the match. Honestly, could have been my man of the match. I was just on a stream with, shout out to Egal. I was just on a stream with him, but he could have easily been my man of the match today. I'll be very honest. While, again, at times, he can be frustrating with his final action, just trying to put his full self into the moves that he's making, and sometimes he'll sky it to the moon, or sometimes he'll put it in the side netting. You see the sparks of creativity, you see the drive, you see the aggression that he has in all of his touches to advance, to attack, to push forward. And that's a lot of what we need in many different moments. He represents a lot of the endeavor that I want the entire team to have. Even though they're not physically capable in many ways that he is, just having the drive to try and push, make those things happen, and just try something. Have the propensity to do. And again, epitomized in his goal. Something came off a Martinelli ball, again, right into the center of the box there. Pulls a shot, great technique, makes it happen. Again, really reminiscent of the Saliba goal in Bournemouth a few seasons ago, where he just makes it happen. And listen, that's what we want to see. We paid this guy. We're paying this guy to be a contributor, not necessarily a starter, not necessarily oh, he's got to come in and stuff like that and fully upend the system or whatever, but we're paying him to provide relief minutes to Saka and whatever wingers on that right hand side and provide impact. He's doing just that. 10 goals and assists on the season so far. He's making that happen. And my personal man of the match, I'll be very honest, Max Dowman. I'm so glad he's back, and I'm so glad he's firing. This guy is money. He's money. He's money, bro. Out of a pitch of senior players, tenured players, people with multiple club experiences, he looked the most poised and experienced from Arsenal's side, in my opinion, throughout this match. You can argue with Norgaard, argue with other people. I think he looked the most experienced, man. Just the most calm. And he looked the most active. He didn't shy away from responsibility on the ball at damn near any moment. He was going to carry through, glide through, find the right pass, flicks and tricks to get the attack started. There was so much good stuff that I saw from him. Again, just the final action that I want to have more conviction to it and stuff, but I know he'll get there. He has shown he deserves more minutes this season, and I think he can be a real impact player in the Champions League, in the Premier League. That's a breath of fresh air. While we don't have Waneri because he's on loan, this is somebody who can step in and be that just shock to the system, to give us something different, to give us a different look right now. Not just in the future, but right now. I'm fully behind Max Dowman. I think he's my man in the match today. Big ups to all the other people as well. I think everybody else is kind of bog standard, did their things, not too much there. Kepa Eze, what a finish. Oh my gosh. I got to make sure we give a shout out to that. What an absolute finish. That was beautiful. That's just the spots that we want to see him in. Feed him the ball in his preferred areas. Watch him cook. Watch him shimmy 1, 2, bang. You know what I'm saying? I need to see him at left wing for the remainder of this season. Not for every single game, but for a lot of these games. I need to see him at left wing. I need to see him there. Odegaard, Havertz, do what you got to do to get fit so we can get y'all in the midfield and get this man to left wing. That's all I got to say on that. But otherwise, we're through the next round. We'll see what happens with the rest of these fixtures. A lot of interesting games on throughout the FA Cup weekend. And then we have Leverkusen next week in the Champions League. round of 16, first leg away in Germany. So we're gonna see what happens, man. We're gonna see what happens with the injury updates. Hopefully it's minor for Calafiori and Trossard, and keep it moving, bro. All 4 fronts is where you want to be. You take it game by game, man. Let me know what you thought about the game in the comment section below. Favorite goal, performances, comments on all that stuff like that. Let me know in the comment section below. And with that being said, my name is Full-Time Trip. That's all the time I got. I am hungry and I gotta enjoy my Saturday, so I'm gonna do that and get an extra boost after the win with some food and other things around here, and make it happen, bruh. But listen, that's all the time I got. Love y'all. COIG. Peace.